My name is Matt, and I am a caffeine addict. I decided to start detoxing from my caffeine addiction today. I probably should have started this a long time ago, but I felt like today was the day to do it. So I've started drinking non-caffeinated teas to replace the coffees. I'm taking ibuprofen to deal with the migraine headache, or the headaches that I've been getting. I don't know if they're migraines or not. Yeah, so I've kind of had headaches all day. I had a muted headache in the evening. I feel a lot better now, just kind of tired as it is late at night. I'm currently at like hour 16 since I've had coffee. I had coffee this morning with one sugar, and after that I realized that I probably shouldn't drink caffeine anymore. Yeah, it was weird because I had a mega craving for sugar late in the evening. Never really happened to me like that before, where like I felt like I was going to throw up if I didn't have any sugar. It was weird. Something else I want to mention now. Yeah, I'll explain that later. But first I kind of wanted to talk about how my addiction started. So I didn't really drink coffee growing up. I was introduced to Monster in high school, but at the time I wasn't really into it. I didn't need it. I played late at night, but I guess I was able to focus enough that I didn't need Monster. I might have drank coffee every now and then because my parents drank coffee, but nothing really serious, at least addiction-wise, with that. I think my addiction started when I was working at this gas station. At the gas station, we were given unlimited water and unlimited cappuccinos out of the cappuccino machine every day. No free sodas or teas or anything like that, because we didn't have a tea dispenser or a soda dispenser. We had bottled soda, but we had a cappuccino machine, so we got unlimited cappuccinos. Or was it that I bought a cup and got unlimited cappuccinos? Anyways, I was a poor fresh out of high school student, living with my parents but still not making a lot of money, trying to save up for stuff, so buying the mug to get unlimited cappuccinos was economical at the time. So while I was working there, I was drinking maybe 3 cappuccinos per shift, 8-hour shifts. I don't know, I guess because they were powdered, I didn't think that they were really strongly caffeinated, so I thought it would be fine. This is also like my first getting into caffeine situation. So yeah, then as I got used to that job, I guess I started playing games later and later at night because I had the caffeine. And I started hanging out late at night with my friends just because we were all busy during the day, and hanging out at night was a fun thing to do. So to stay awake during those night things after working during the day, I started drinking Monster, and I started drinking 5-hour energy drinks just so I could stay awake and alert. And I felt invincible, I guess. I felt like I could do anything. I had all this energy. And at the time, I was averaging maybe 4 hours of sleep a night. So I was drinking cappuccinos during my shift, maybe 1 to 2 at this point, and then drinking 5-hour energy and Monster during the evening to stay awake. And then one day I was hanging out with my friends at the rec center, and I felt very uncomfortable. I felt really bad. So I went out to the car, and I laid in the car, and my heart was fluttering. That never happened to me before. And I later found out that those were heart palpitations. And in that moment, I realized that I needed to stop drinking as much caffeine as I was. I thought I was going to die in that car. I really did. Because I didn't know what was going on. My heart was beating a million miles a minute. So I stopped drinking the cappuccinos. I went to water. I think I started bringing my own like sodas or teas or whatever to work. And I stopped drinking the 5-hour energy shots. But I continued with the Monster. Kind of because I enjoy the flavor, but also I needed to stay awake at night. So Monster and I had been on and off again. Like a bad breakup for a number of years. Within the last 2 years, I had started to seriously try and wean off of Monster, mostly because it was expensive. and I knew coffee was like a healthier alternative to Monster. So I started drinking coffee, and I got into that. Um, just coffee with 2 sugars, no cream. Very simple, very not crazy. I guess I forgot to mention that I also worked at Dunkin' Donuts at that time. After I had worked at the gas station, and at Dunkin' they gave you unlimited coffee on shift, so that probably didn't help either. Then one day I started working a late shift as a janitor from 5:30 to 1:30 in the morning, 5:30 p.m. to 1:30 in the morning. So in order to stay awake for that, I started drinking 1 coffee in the morning, 1 in the evening, and then a Monster or 2 Monsters during my shift. And during this time, I was maybe averaging about 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night. I'd get home at 1:30, I'd relax for a bit, go to sleep by 2, and try and wake up by like 7 or 8 so I could say goodbye to my, at the time, fiance, and then I'd take another nap. Eventually, my heart palpitation showed up again, and this had been happening in the last few years. Just like every time it popped up, I'd be like, "All right, time to stop. Probably shouldn't drink this much caffeine. It's obviously bad for you." So I did. I weaned off of the coffee at least a bit. I think I stopped drinking Monster at shift and just the coffees before and in the morning. Then I had a daughter. I have a daughter, but at the time I had gotten a daughter. And obviously, with being a new parent, your sleep schedule gets kind of out of whack. So, started drinking a lot of caffeine again. And then when my wife went back to work, I needed the Monster to get through the day because it was tough. I didn't know what I was doing. I was first time dad, and she did most of the legwork when she was at home. So I was kind of like in it when I became like the stay-at-home dad. I started drinking Monster again. Once you got a bit older and a little bit easier to control, not control's the wrong word, a little bit easier to handle, it became more helpful than crying all the time. I weaned off the Monster. Then in the last few months, maybe December, we had driven down to Texas, and we realized that the only way we were going to drive down to Texas is by driving at night while my daughter's sleeping, because she was at the time about a year old. And so I was drinking Monster every night to drive, because I'd start driving at 8 o'clock at night when she fell asleep, and I'd drive to like 1 in the morning. I don't recommend that. I drink about 2 Monsters a night to keep awake, and then I drink like Frappuccinos and cappuccinos throughout the day to keep me awake with the family. So I was averaging maybe 4 or 5 hours of sleep during this time period. And then maybe in March, we had driven to Iowa. It was the same deal: Monsters at night, Frappuccinos during the day. The thing is, with Texas, I was able to wean off the Monster pretty quickly. With Iowa's trip, I guess I'd gotten a little bit more hooked. And so I was buying Monster again. And I got really into Monster, and then I eventually weaned off of the Monster and got back into cappuccinos, at least like homemade instant coffee stuff during the day. But this last couple months or so, my addiction had gotten really bad, to the point where I would get headaches if I didn't have enough caffeine by 11, which is, I already had a coffee at 8. Why do I need a cappuccino at 11 or 12 o'clock? Then today I listened to a podcast, the Giant Bombcast, and they were talking about caffeine, and it made me realize that I don't know why it made me realize it. It just gets maybe talking about it just made me think about caffeine in general, and I realized that I had a problem. I had a problem and an addiction to caffeine, and I needed to address it because I want to be there for my daughter. You can't do that if caffeine gets the best of me. So I I started today weaning off caffeine completely at this point and seeing how long or how I'll feel afterwards. I hope I get better. I'm scared though. I've gotten so used to caffeine and used to the way I feel on caffeine that it seems like every time I wean off the monster, I become a different person and not as good as my caffeinated self. Less energy, boring, I don't know. So I hope I come out of this a better person. And I hope I can live outside of my addiction. This has been Matt's Diary. Hour, let's say 16. As I've had caffeine. Wish me luck.